Oh, can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me?
I can,
Jimmy
Jay.
there? Oh my
I made it.
God.
Guys, before we get
We're
started,
yes,
we have
sir.
been doing these
Hello.
intros since 5 o'clock this morning. We have,
Hello.
hold on, I got to show them something. This is evidence
Okay. Okay.
of what you've arranged today.
Yeah, we're hitting that wall where we're
See
starting to
this?
act mentally insane.
Hold on, you ready?
Yeah.
You see this? This is a sandwich I've been working on in between each. So I get like one bite every time we transition to another call. I've made it halfway through the sandwich. It's 2 o'clock. That was breakfast. This has been an amazing, I got to tell you guys, Eric, Jim, he has arranged some of the best conversations. I mean, it's wild, the eclectic group, but the value of the human is off the charts. Um, very, very thankful and grateful to be here with both of you today. But Jay is killing it. So let's get into it. Jay, I just want to give you a little gratitude there, buddy.
It means a lot. So for all the listeners, there's no better way to start this podcast than to say Happy New Year's Eve. It's 2024. The theme of the year is Soren Kierkegaard's quote, life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forwards. We're talking about our words for 2024, 2025, with all of the people in my culture. And before I introduce you to our guests, plural, very important people in my life, here's a quote just for this podcast. Because I care, I encourage you. Don't F this up. MDC, circa last night around 11:40 at night. If you haven't listened to episode 755 with Jim Sabellico and episode 426 with Eric Guy and episode 552 with Mike Calhoun, you either don't like me or you don't respect yourself or you just didn't know they existed. But I challenge you, love yourself, like me, like my friends, and go listen to those episodes after this podcast. I want to tell you a little bit about this guy, Eric Guy, before I introduce the show further. He's a special man that met one of my best friends in a canyon and convinced him to introduce him to me. That guy was Mr. Brian Hess, and now we're inseparable. He's helped people. Guys, he's helped people all across the country and the world. He's an amazing listener. Reminds me a lot of you, Jim, in that way. And he's got a huge, big heart. He's written a book and all the stuff we can go on about each other, but he's an amazing man. Jim, I got to meet through somebody that I consider a guardian angel who was on our Lollapalooza. This is the 2024 Lollapalooza earlier today, Mr. Christopher Vester that introduced us. He's been on the show
Mhm.
twice, and he has not only depth, but he's helped me with my cake addiction. No half cakes. That's an inside joke because he's got a great podcast, but he's means business. He's been an advisor to CEOs for a long time as it relates to like not just web design, but actually how to build their business like inside out with his heart because he understands culture. Mike Drop Calhoun, man, I know few people in my life that would wait. Well, he didn't go to sleep. He just stood and waited for 5 a.m. when we started, and he's eaten half a sandwich. That says all you need to know. But he's more than just a voice. He's a brain. He's a heart. He's a friend, and he helps a lot of people with his culture. And I can't think of a better group. Well, that's a little offensive considering we've had so many groups on today.
We did all that to practice for this group, guys.
Jim, meet Mike. Jim, meet Eric. Eric, Jim. Eric, Mike. Jim, Mike. Jim, Eric. Uh,
So,
Jay, meet everybody.
so Eric and Hess, those guys are tied together.
Oh, they know
Yes.
each other very
Yeah,
well. And
love
Jim
that
knows,
guy.
yeah.
Hess is a stud, and then Jim Vester, right? Wow, he's amazing. I mean, That is from a family, marriage, values, even just the believer side of him. That is just a wonderful man. I really like the two conversations that I've had with him. So you guys look good already based on who I've met that you know, and I'm excited about this.
And Eric, when well, okay, I can pontificate. I got questions here. Eric, what was your word? Can you remind us for 2024? Wasn't it something to do with arson?
That was 2023. Yes, that was 2023, which was fire. 2024 was surrender,
Why?
which was very difficult because I like to control things, and I just it was one of those things. I think every every person that pushes themselves and wants more, you get to the point where it's like, yeah, you can't do this myself. I just had to surrender to some of the things that were going on around me, some of the situations, some of the circumstances. And I knew it was the right word at the end of last year because I didn't want it. Like I was like, there's got to be a different word here. But that was very, very difficult. And then it was funny because we were yeah, that was at the January TCS retreat, and Caleb, Jim, and Mike, who's a real good friend of mine. He's the one that leads our adventures for leaders when we go to the canyon and things like that. He's the wilderness guide. He got up in front of, and he didn't know it at the time, but he got up in front of the TCS members, and he's like, "My word for the year is surrender," and he gave this big spiel, and he didn't know it was my word too. And we when you do that on the Sunday when we give the mic to everybody, I didn't even get a chance to say, "Hey, that's my word too," because he handed the mic to me and I was next. And I was so excited when I had the mic. I was like this. I was like, "Oh my God, I just got to get off here so I could tell Caleb that's my word too." Uh, but it was funny because it had come to him that weekend as well. So we've been, through this year, what he's had to go through, how we've had to support his nonprofit Adventures with Training with a Purpose, what we've had to do with that, and and Jay and Jenna were big proponents and a lot of assistance, especially on Jenna's side for that curtain call that we had with the Steelers celebrating their first Super Bowl victory. That actually kept a nonprofit in business this year. And
Wow.
just surrendering to the circumstances over and over and over again and not trying to get in there and control and stress myself out. So that was the long answer, Jay.
Jim, what was yours? Oh, you're muted. Hold on. Sorry. Or try, yeah, try now. No, no. Was it silence? Okay.
Jay, you're getting funnier as the day goes on.
Dude,
Huh?
you just
I
stay
need to
around till
pause.
Just
Yeah,
stay
I need to. You
11:59.
got till 11 now.
Oh,
You
look
got
at his
permission?
face. Look at
No
his
kidding.
stuff. You
Huh?
guys got no, no. We're gonna have dinner
Oh,
at
oh,
7. Then we
oh.
might come back and rein it in. I don't know. Let's
All
see.
right. Well, you got to tell me because I scheduled dinner out till 9 tonight. I mean,
Hey, if you guys will all come back at 11, I actually am not in charge, but I can ask and see if I can come back. But hey, Jim, can we
Yes.
hear you? Ah, there you are. What was your word for 2024?
For 24, it was space.
Yes. Yes.
Like SpaceX.
No, not like SpaceX, like space as in capacity.
Gotcha.
What did you
Clear enough.
discover about you and every life and
That's a long question to answer. What I discovered about myself in life. How do I answer that briefly? You're way more capable, and you could do way more than you think you can. I think that's probably the shortest way to answer that.
Hmm.
And if we just remove all the crap that's unnecessary, the stuff that we are obsessing over that we should not because we can't change. I think the best way to answer that is faith and fear both require you to believe in something you can't see. So choose wisely.
Mm,
like it.
that's good. Faith.
Oh.
Can we write that down?
Yeah, faith and fear
Faith
both
and fear.
require you to believe in something you can't see. Choose wisely.
Oof, that was really good. All right, show's over for the day.
We're done.
That's amazing. Good job.
What is standing out so much about that, Mike?
People gravitate so easily towards fear. And I feel like it's the thing that's used against in our psyche. It's the thing that is used against us most organically as a human being. You know, we're programmed to like protect ourselves for survival, harm, you know, so forth. That we have a hard time sometimes shifting gears into laying down solid principles, just like culture. A belief system creates a behavior. If we create a behavior around fear, you know, that's a choice that we're making, because we're able to create a belief system around faith that based on certain things, it will work a certain way. It requires us to be decided and deliberate, which I think some people just aren't. No choice is a choice. So in life, you kind of have to, especially as an entrepreneur, owner, founder, CEO, you're creating a product, platform, or service, and you're kind of deciding the direction that you're going in function. But there's also this: is it going to work? Are we going to pull it off? Will it be valuable to the marketplace? Like, with the right principles designed into it, like you gotta have some faith, right? You gotta believe in your product. You have to believe in your people. You have to um, be deliberate in your moves. And if you aren't, you're deciding not to, and you do genuinely have something to be afraid of. I think it's just a great summary of almost illustrating what is possible if you just put your brain to it, right? Like it was
Something
really
I want to
cool.
say about Jim. He's not a man of few words. He's a man with something to say.
Where are you located, Jim?
I'm in New York.
Oh, this, of course, this guy has something to say. Where are you at in New York?
I live in Patchogue, which is a little city 2/3 of the way east on Long Island.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's out on the island, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, interesting. That's a nice area.
it is. I enjoy it. Been here about 8 years.
What do you actually do? What is the
My 9 to 5, if you will.
9 to 5,
So my nine to
5 to
five,
9?
yeah, something like that. I'm involved in a lot of different businesses. My quote unquote 9 to 5 is I run a web design and marketing agency. That's
Mm.
the core of what I do. That's called Heart Core Growth, and that serves as a platform to serve a lot of other businesses. So the developers, the marketing staff there help support the rest.
Mm-hmm. Very, very familiar. Very familiar. Wow. Interesting. How many
And,
do you,
and Jim, the hardcore, where did that come from?
So I originally, when I started this business back in 2012, I named it J. Lewis because it sounded fancy, and my middle name is Lewis, so it was really just an abbreviation of my own name. But it sounded luxury-ish, so that's why I went with it. And I operated under that name for 10 years, and eventually it got to the point that it didn't feel authentic, which is a weird thing to say because it's literally my name. But I was using it under the preface of, hey, this is a luxury sounding name to sound super fancy and serve a higher scale customer. when what I really wanted to do was serve the business owner who is also a family person who is trying to wear too many different hats, right? So it's not a Fortune 500 company. Hey, maybe if that person needs some help too,
Mm-hmm.
cool. But
Mm-hmm.
it's really meant for the small and medium sized business owner who is also a parent who is struggling to try and figure out, hey, how do I show up at my business and give the best for my customers and also show up for my family? Because that was the thing that was really personal to me. Was I spent a number of years of my life, starting from the time I was 8 years old, chasing success in terms of dollars, up until the point, and I don't want to get too deep in the story, but where I found myself in front of a half birthday cake thinking, hey, is this what success looks like? Because I came home at 8:45 at night on my son's 6th birthday. So for me, I was able to take that moment of pain, that moment of like, hey, this is not what success is supposed to feel like, and realize how can I best serve other people to help them avoid that. Hey, let me pour that authentic version of me. It's not just my name, but it's who I am authentically, to put the heart first at the core of literally everything we do, to serve the small business owner who is also a parent trying to juggle everything. So that what I like to say is I build better people to build better businesses. So it's not just, hey, let's build you a website and send you on your way. It's, hey, let's help you figure out how to be a more present parent in the meantime. So like the web design stuff, super easy, right? There's a team of people you can hand it off to, not a big deal, right? That's easy to figure out. How can we do that in a way that you can then go home and not have to worry about it, where you can be present at your kid's dance recital, not thinking about, gee, is my website up? Like, I want you to be present in your family, and that's what Heartcore is really all about.
Eric Guy. Oh, Mike, you're muted.
Is
You
it
were
a
saying
play
something?
on hardcore?
Yes.
Hardcore, not so it's a play on hardcore. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Heartcore.
Yeah. So the name is Heartcore. So heart is at the
Yeah.
core of what we do. A play on hardcore.
And you went from J. Lewis, which was a middle name. And by the way, that does sound waspy. Yes.
Yeah.
So you definitely are a smart man
It sounds
because
like a clothing
that was
brand.
logical. Very, yeah. It reminds me of like Warby Parker.
Could have
Yeah.
shoes with
And
it.
hey, look, it
J.
served me
Lewis.
well for a number of years, but it didn't align with who I was personally at that point.
Eric Guy.
Jay,
What do you
Jason
think?
Christopher Duran.
I
What's up?
gotta get my Bible. Where is that? Oh, it's by the bed. Yeah. So everybody knows. Eric gave me a beautiful gift for Christmas. It was a Bible that said my name on it, my middle name, that my mother. I read Mike half the letter and Vinny and everybody this morning. I wrote a letter to my mother. I haven't seen her in a while, but I share the same last name as her, Duran. That was her, my biological mother. Eric gave me a Bible on it. Jason Christopher Durant. She named me Christopher. It was important to her, so it means a lot. And thank you very much. And I'll get it. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it. But so the question I have for you is, what were you? Sorry, my calendar went off. What were you thinking when Jim was describing his revelation? And the reason I'm asking that is you've worked alongside so many entrepreneurs over the years. For those that don't know fully, Eric, he started in the social services world and was kind of pulled into entrepreneurial coaching. Really, he's like from a therapeutic standpoint to come alongside entrepreneurs. Really, he was sent to people's families, like to go and live with the families to help the kids, but really he'd help the parents, which helped the kids. He has a pretty studied background in all of that for a long time, and I'll let him elaborate more on that. But yeah, what do you think about Jim's revelation?
Well, I love it. I mean, I'm just sitting here shaking my head about how many, especially dads, man. That was a still need that. Yeah, absolutely need to be more present, and you see all these kids, especially nowadays, that and again, not that mother's not important, but dad's really important. Dad's really important to a lot of these young men who are lost. I sit down at the coffee shop today, with my son for 2 hours today and just go over goals for the next year and watch, all these kids go back and forth that you could tell they're just lost
Mm.
in some manner. And, I know a lot of them because it's a very small town that we live in or know of them, and how much trouble they have and things of that nature. And I think it's a great thing to be able to do that and to offer that as part of what you do. I mean, it's a fabulous thing to be able to offer that for what you do and be able to talk to people about that because you've been there and done that as well. That's one of the things that I actually talked to my son about today. Is like, I broke a generational curse, and I want to continue to give that to you, and I'm going to be a better grandfather than I was a father, and that's why I can't wait for that because he's been married a couple years now. But those are the things that when I hear Jim say that of it didn't feel authentic, right? And you have a lot of people that just are out there, we just fake it, right? And it's like, well, yeah, that's the reason I love Jay, and I think that's the reason Jay loves me. And we talked about that ad nauseum last week too. Is just Jay lets me be me, I let Jay be Jay, and we accept each other's goofiness, and that's that's why Jenna's worried. Uh,
Yeah, for those that don't know, we've been doing a series on the CEO manual for how many? For months.
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's Eric. Yeah,
That's the Eric. Okay.
that's the Eric. Yeah, because Mike's listened and seen this and heard of this.
yeah.
And you're a great
Yeah. So Jim, I
uh
love I love the idea, and I love the fact that I can't imagine how hard that was to switch, to flip that switch. It'd have been easy to flip it after 6 months, but man, you build a company, and it's like, well, I'm just going to change the name.
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, kudos to you.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Jim, what is your advice to someone that feels they've thought that, but they've put that thought over here and just gone back to work?
I would advise them to take the jump because, I think like literally most things in life, we build up this thing in front of us to be such a hurdle, an obstacle, and we're so afraid of having this conversation or doing the thing that we put so much, again, fear into that because what if it doesn't work? What if all my customers hate it? What if the business crashes? We worry about what if, right? What if I go have that conversation with the person? What if I ask myself questions about who my authentic self is? What if I do this or that? And then we go through the process, and the process is always a little bit painful, right? So I can't hide that fact that the process is painful, but the freedom and the transformation on the other side is 1,000 times better than anything you had before that. So over and over and over again in my life, I've gone through this process and realized like, yeah, you're afraid of taking this step because what if? And we're resistant to that change, but you go through it. And on the other side of that, the transformation and the freedom is so much greater than anything you could possibly ever even just think about. It gives you encouragement to do it again the next time. I think a big part of that is the reflection and the gratitude of understanding, hey, when you go and do that and you get the payoff from it and the freedom and how really just free you feel because you don't have to fake anything. You just show up, right? And it's a conversation I have with people all the time who are struggling to wear a different hat when they're home, when they're at their business, when they have to be the CEO, when they have to be the husband, when they have to be the dad, when they have to be, themselves out with the boys. Like if you are your authentic self and you can operate as your authentic self in all those spaces, it makes it so much easier because you don't have to change hats. You just show up and you let your heart and your principles and your core values dictate your decisions. It's easy, right? You have that freedom, but the process of getting to that was painful. I'm not going to deny that, but that's why there are people like all of us in this room here who come alongside you and help you get through that because all of us know how much joy there is in that freedom.
What about the clients, and that transition, clients, customers? There's a lot of listeners that I would think would be afraid of how their people that they're serving will respond to new patterns of behavior.
Yeah. Well, I think you could look at it from both ways because, those people are judging you regardless. You're going to have clients who are going
So
to
true.
only be your client as long as you are benefiting them in some way. They can care less about you as a person.
Mm.
Those clients exist. So if you shake off and lose a few of those, no big loss, right? Then you're going to have people who are attracted to you because of how you operate and how you show up as an
Mm.
authentic person. So those usually offset. And I think the biggest thing I could say there is just understanding that no matter what you do, you're being criticized and judged by other people. So just do what you want to do anyway.
Continually.
How
That's a
long did it take to pick up some speed after the transition?
Um, Today, I mean, it's still going. I don't know how fast it's going to go, but every day is better than the day before.
How long ago did you make that transition?
Cool.
When did it
Uh,
start?
14 months ago,
And how long have you been in
Congratulations.
business?
uh, 12 years.
Okay, wow. So in all reality, it's fairly recent
Fairly recent. Yeah.
in the macro optics.
Yeah.
How do you
And it
feel?
Yeah,
definitely,
10%,
it definitely continues
90%, 10.
to refine day by day. Like there's conversations I had even as recent as last week, that I actually had in real time with a podcast guest of my own who helped kind of expand the concept that I realized, hey, maybe I can go deeper on that and show up to serve better. So it's definitely still growing. And I think that's the cool part is, all of us every day are better than we were the day before if we are intentional about it.
Yeah. I mean, you, in a sense, still are Jay Lewis,
Oh, 100%.
but the brand is hardcore.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey, Mike, your word for 2025 is value.
For 2025 is value, yes.
Did Eric share his?
For 2025,
Yeah.
I did not.
Mine's intensity. Jim's is, you said space, and then you said,
No, that was
Bold.
no,
2024.
last year. No, 2024 was space.
Yeah.
What's
This
this
year's
one?
2025 is bold.
Intense, bold people create value and
Oh, do you see what he did there?
what's yours, Eric? It better be something cool or else we're screwed.
Yeah, you are screwed. Um, so I haven't got it down quite yet, because I'm really important about the words.
So it's
Probably,
nothing. Intense, bold people
probably
create nothing.
generous.
The wild card.
Yeah,
You don't have it
generous.
yet. You don't have it yet.
No, I do. It's just what word am I going to use? It's either generous or all. I keep getting confirmed with this when we were in Mexico. It kind of hit really hard. As we do this, so guys, Mike and Jim, we've been doing, my family and I have been doing a vision day for, I don't know, the better part of 2 decades. Obviously our kids couldn't do what they do now, but we always have had, gone through some things, asking them questions. I've got a slew of questions that we go over, we reflect, we have a word of the year. My daughter has gone so far over the past 5 or 6 years to make like a worksheet for that for people. So she really encourages us, like we have, especially her and I. She and I, we do not just our word, but we have verses or quotes to back that up. And then she and I do a playlist with those songs in mind. And it's been a big thing. And then we have a now this is our third year of doing it in the community. We do a
Mm.
community vision day where we do these things, and that's one of the things that I do bring my daughter up for. And she goes to.
And where are you
She
located?
tries whatever. We're outside of Pittsburgh. We're north of Pittsburgh, in a little town called Fombell that nobody from Pittsburgh knows about either. So,
Mm.
yeah, so we're out in the country here, and that's it's just one of the things that we've that I found to be a big
The
game
country
changer
is healthy
for
living.
our family. Yeah. Yeah.
Right
Have you
next to New
guys have you guys ever participated in any type of vision board or vision experience? And Jim, Mike,
Yeah, I find it to be a really healthy activity.
you ever do, like the board or the day or which? Because I asked, I didn't really clarify.
Yeah, so the board, I keep a vision board. It's literally on my desktop right now. I keep it in front
Wow.
of me at all times.
It's funny.
Wow.
I pulled up an old vision board on accident. I was searching for something and I ran across my old vision board desktop. I'm looking it up right now. Vision, it actually says vision board finals. And I went and I got all these, the highest quality pictures that I could find that really illustrated exactly what it was that I saw. I was going through a pretty challenging time. Big software company. I kind of had to set it down, roll over, start a new business, roll things over. It was overwhelming, but it was a time for reset, and I wasn't happy with how fast that little tricycle was moving down the hill, and those little wheels were wobbling, and they had wobbled. They vibrated so hard for a couple of years, and it just like rattled my cage for so long. Like I was like, man, when I do this over, that's not what I want it to turn into. I don't like, sure, you have a monetary reward, but it's not worth it. Like it's like selling your soul to the devil, right? So I just said, I just want to put it in my mind. I didn't even want to write it down. I wanted the visual. And then I designed my desktop because I spent so much time on it just to loop. So it kept flipping through. So it programmed it in my brain. It took me a little while to really find. I went back through it the other day. It's like literally, bro, even the house that I laid out, if I didn't even go back and look at this because you change computers and stuff, but when I go back, like from my wife, the house, the image of the house, like everything is, it's scary how
Wow.
almost in unison it played out.
Whoa. How many years?
This was 2000, going from 2008 into 2009.
Eric, what do you think of that?
But yeah, I love it. I think that that word of the year for everybody, just to keep that front and center. You asked Jay, you asked me mine, and I have it. Yeah, I had sometimes I have to come to terms with the word. I don't know if you guys struggle with that too. It's like, oh man, I really don't want to face that this year. Like, there's got to be another word, got to be something easier. But for me, that surrender was such a big word that I had to really break that apart and remind myself, and that's what I did. You guys have that on your screensaver or whatever. So do I. So when I open up my iPad, whatever, 15, 20 times a day, it's always there. Uh, but that word surrender, I really had to wrap my head around it because I didn't like it. I needed to make it, what there's got to be good out of this. And it's, for me, I defined it. So surrender is an act of yielding to God's will and direction. There's nothing in my hands that I have no intentions of running from anymore. And then I had a quote there: "Surrender this was big for me. Surrender to God's not passive resignation; it's active trust." Right? It goes back to what Jim was saying before: the
That's
fear of
powerful.
faith. Like, do I have faith enough to let it go, or am I holding on to fear because I feel like I need to control? And then obviously a verse there. So I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is the true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of the world, but be transformed formed by the renewing of your mind, then you will be able to test and approve to what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And at the end of it, I just said, I will surrender my life and my desires to God's will. And that is, I mean, that was difficult because, Jay, you've been there. I mean, you were at the summer retreat when I got the news that my daughter had, you know, a tumor, and I wanted to control everything. I wanted to run home from Denver and be it, let's go, let's get these doctors in line. And, um, just surrendering all that, there were several things like that, because her boyfriend had cancer, right? And he's probably going to be part of our family. And it's just like, oh my goodness. And, when I felt like he wasn't moving fast enough, I wanted to go in and control, right? Because that's how that was part of my attachment stuff, Jay. You're I was the protector. And, so you, you don't want to see people getting hurt. So he's, that protection mode came out, and I was like, I'm just going to surrender this, surrender. And, I think it's even more. I can't even talk about my word yet. I'm waiting for, my kids this weekend, because we have our family vision day before the community vision day. We have the family vision day this Saturday. And my son was asking me today, he's like, what's your word? And, because we go back and forth, and it's funny how it ties into one another, because I'm all like, it gives me great joy to help my kids right now, because I didn't get that. Right. And I don't give them everything, man. They're both hard workers. They both have their own places. I'm blessed that my daughter, she quit her job and came on full time with us a few months ago. But my son was like, my word for the year is bless, because I called him from when we were in Mexico about 3 weeks ago, and I'm like, hey, look, I know I want you to be okay with this. I want to help you with that first home purchase. I don't know what that looks like, but if you don't want me to help you, let me know. It's just where my heart is right now. I didn't tell him about my word. And then today's like, my word is going to be bless. He's like, I was talking to somebody, and I was talking to them about this, and they said, why don't you just receive the blessing? And therefore, my word of being generous, I want to do that. And that's why I don't, yeah, maybe you guys have some feedback on that, since we're talking words. I mean, I like all too, because it's a little bit more to the point of just giving all of myself all at one time. I think there's a lot to be said there as well. But
Yeah,
it is.
I was listening to something earlier this morning, um, much earlier this morning, and the gentleman said, uh,
I never showered, guys. Like, you gotta understand. Like, anyway, just
he was talking about his new prayer is not to give gifts to me, but to give gifts through me.
mm,
And the real partnership there with God is, how are you a conduit? Like, how do you become, even a better word is an instrument,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
It's and I was just looking through my vision board as we were talking, because I'm like, man, what's ironic is that vision, when you're hitting the reset button, you go back to the fundamentals many times. Like, okay, I want to, this, I would love a really wholesome relationship with, a wife. I would want this type of house. I would want to drive this type of, you're kind of dealing with fundamental stuff. And then when you look back at it, I just did it again, and I was like, but that's all base, not the wife, but the those are basic, the house, the car, whatever. Like, those aren't even interesting anymore. As leaders, we really, if we want to be used and partnering with God, we've got to ask him to use us and leave ourselves open for that, right? I think, like, that vision board, I'm like thinking to myself, that vision board needs to be so refined with things that are meaningful. You know, it's been a while, 2008, 2009, right? But looking at the types of experiences that we've had since those years, like putting something really meaningful, purposeful, and valuable on a vision board, because if it works that well, right, why not put something on there so big and so valuable and so real, like you said, with faith, it works. What would we want to really work, right? Because a house doesn't change the world, a car doesn't change the, like, what if we really dreamed big? How valuable could we be if we let our mind bake on it? Just like we're talking about every time we look at our screen.
Yeah.
I think that's what's the biggest instrument, the most valuable instrument we could be? And that's probably going to be my main
I need God to give me the strength to do 500 of these.
push-ups.
Yeah. Like I need
You've been
strength.
doing them all day, by the way.
Yes.
In between the sandwich bites.
We
That's why I only get one bite of the
we
sandwich. I've got to
we
do
did a
push-ups.
little. Yeah, we did. It's maybe next year. I got all these. It's funny. We shout out to Michael Christensen, Dr. David Yerkes, Adam Geiger. Those are just three people already. I'm thinking on the Culture Matters podcast who all know any listeners. You guys go listen to they're all experts at training or physics. Oh, I don't want, not trying to be offensive, not physics to my knowledge, physical fitness, right? That surrounding ourselves with help people that can help us. So maybe next year I'll be able to do some push-ups because I've got all these great people in my life pushing me. Um,
Jim looks like he's done a few.
One or two.
in in uh in closing, I want to challenge our listeners to go find you guys on the internet and create a relationship with you, even if it's just them stalking you. What would be the best, most, speediest way for our listeners to connect with you guys? Jim, first,
Best one for me is probably Instagram at Jim Sabellico.
and Eric,
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Center for Victory.
Mike,
I'm looking it up again. Twitter is / Mike Calhoun. People don't say / anymore, do they? LinkedIn is Mike Calhoun, and it looks like Instagram is MD Calhoun. My team does this stuff.
Yeah.
Just,
I feel you.
I should do more of it. It's like a vortex,
I
though. You get sucked into it. You get nothing done all day.
I want we're dedicating today, right? So this is the New Year's Eve episode for the listeners. We're recording this on New Year's Eve. Mike didn't sleep last night. He just stood next to his bed and waited. 5 a.m. We're going all
I
night.
lay there and wait.
He lays there, he waits. He doesn't sleep. I know him well enough. Trust me.
I do.
That's a show for another day. But this is the New Year's Eve Jubilee. The purpose of the New Year's Jubilee is to foreshadow value, culture, leadership, friendship, kinship for the new year. It's the sacrifice because we could all be doing something else right now for ourselves, but we're here for the audience and each other. As Kierkegaard said, life can only be understood backwards and must be lived forwards. My word for the year is intensity. I think Jim's is bold and Eric to be determined. Sorry?
No,
TBD.
TBD. One of those two.
Mike's value. I want to dedicate today to one of the 12 from last year, right? Last year was different. Last year was a test to see if I could push myself to listen to 12 people that at the time, because you're all on a list of who I like the most. Just kidding. 12 people showed up. It was back to back to back. I didn't introduce anybody. I wasn't ready. But all of you have helped me be ready. John Schwartz showed up last year. He actually did it in his car and made it work for about 14 minutes. I challenge everybody listening to this, go go to YouTube and watch that episode 441. So today is dedicated to John, who is no longer with us on September 16th. He went to the next level, and I miss him. People that know him miss him, but today we're dedicating this to him. So thanks for showing up, guys.
You gotta
Thanks,
vote.
Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Good
Thank
meeting
you,
you,
Eric.
Mike,
Jim.
Jim.
Don't leave. We need to take a picture and make believe we had fun.
Oh, we had fun.